Hey guys, welcome back. Robocraft Early Access coverage. This is episode 21. I'm Enigmius, and today we've got 4 matches for you. 4 very different matches that have kind of the same theme. I like to do a little bit of a theme when I do these just because it helps tie things together a little bit better. Today we're talking about pushing the offense, and this is really important. This is the difference between having a really strong, dominating victory and just getting picked apart piece by piece until your entire team is wiped out. Most of the examples are what happens when the enemy team doesn't push the offense, when they kind of sacrifice a strong position. But this one was pretty straightforward. This is me setting up on the ledge where I usually end up whenever I spawn on this side of this map. I'm more interested in what's going on to the right of that rock pillar in front of me than I am what's going down on the ground, because this is usually around the spot where a plasma bomber flies around the corner and does horrible things to me. In that case, the plasma bomber was over on the other side, so that's good. And so now I feel a little bit better about peeking over, seeing what I can do to support my team down on the ground. All 3 of those enemy vehicles are a little bit too far away. So rather than sitting here waiting, hoping that someone's going to come into range, I'm just going to push forward towards their base, and hopefully, in doing so, I get closer to where I need to be to kill some bad guys, because that's the fun part. And you can see now, they duck for covers as soon as I get there. But you get the idea. I've pushed forward. Vehicles that used to be out of range now are not only in range, but are a hell of a lot easier to see. And I managed to get a little bit of damage on that guy. He's not much of a threat to the rest of my team down on the ground. And now I'm pushing forward again. This is actually, every once in a while, I'll have sort of like a goal when I go into matches that I just want to focus on one thing. And it could be because I see myself forming a bad habit and I want to break it. Or because I see myself not doing something that I know is a good idea as often as I should, and I want to reinforce it as a good habit. And in this case, it's not getting stuck in one spot waiting for things to happen, which is very, very easy in a rail vehicle, especially because this is now a Tier 9 match. This used to be a Tier 8 vehicle, and I started upgrading the blocks on the chassis, and that alone pushed me up into Tier 9, and it's been awful. It's been absolutely awful. I get obliterated so easily now because people are driving around with the Tier 10 weapons with Tier 9 and 10 chassis blocks on small vehicles with electroplates. Very difficult to kill. They don't have such a hard time of killing me, but you can see basically I pushed all the way around the outside of the edge of the map and met up with my teammate down in the circle. We could care less that their enemy is still alive because we just won. Now this is obviously a different match on a different map with the same theme of what happens when you do or do not push the offense. And the key here is to just keep in mind that if you study like military history and things of that nature, you come across expressions like taking the fight to the enemy. You hear that a lot with modern military. You don't sit and wait for the enemy to come to you, you take the fight to them. The person who makes the plan that shows up to the fight is the one with the initiative. They're the ones who are already expecting the fight. They're not surprised when they encounter the enemy. This is where you want to be. You want to be right up on the edge, making sure that if the enemy is doing anything, they're reacting to you instead of deciding what they want to do and getting the first few shots in, because that's bad for this bot when the enemy gets a few shots in on me. Now I was keeping an eye on things and saw these 3 friendly vehicles pushing through, and they're not stopping. They're in a nice little caravan, they're pushing through, so I figured if I'm going to do anything, I want to be up on the front with them, because it's really frustrating, and you'll see this a little later on. It's really frustrating when I spend too long on the back lines, and as a result, I end up with bad guys all over me and no friendly players for support. So that guy could have been the guy who snuck up behind me, as the bombers like to do when they're given the opportunity, but now he's heading back to the mothership, I presume. So now you can see pretty clearly we've got the 3 guys on the enemy base, we've got about 3 guys over in the far lane, and there's a lot of enemy vehicles over there fighting with them, but they kind of got a little bit bogged down, and now we've started to cap. And that's the one thing that you can do from across the map that should make every enemy player stop and take notice of what's going on. Because now, if they just sit there and try and pick apart the enemy in that far lane, they could lose by us capping. So they might have actually had a pretty good chance of clearing through and being able to cap themselves, or at least flank us. And they ended up basically being mostly wiped out from the looks of things. They got our guys in the far lane. They're too far away to do anything about our capping, except for these guys that are kind of flyers, not doing a very good job of flying, or doing a reasonable job of flying, but not doing a very good job of keeping our guys interrupted. And this is basically how this match is going to end, is we're going to cap, because these guys, rather than kind of detouring and looking for a fight, when they got to the far side, they just sit on the cap. And that forces the enemy into a reactionary position where they've either got to turn around and come back and interrupt it, or they've got to haul ass to our base and get more guys on our circle than we have on theirs. And by haul ass, I mean you're talking within 15 seconds. It has to be done. Not happening, done. And these guys just weren't in a position to do that. And that means even though they're putting a little bit of damage on us at the circle, it's not enough. It's not going to be enough for them to stop us from capping. By the numbers, they had more than enough bots to actually win, but what you're going to see up ahead is actually kind of the little bit disturbing point with regards to what happened in this match and why the enemy lost. Look up on that ridge where you can see the red plasma fire coming down. They've got all kinds of bots up on that ridge, and none of them are willing to come down and make sure they're putting constant pressure on the circle. They're just sitting up there. This is, again, push. Go. Do something. So now we end up back here. This map only. Same map as the first match, opposite side. So this is kind of interesting because most of the time it seems like we end up spawning on the other side. I don't know what it is. It's probably just the selective memory kind of thing, selective recall. But I mostly just wanted to get up here, and you'll see one of the first things you see, there's that rock pillar that I'm always watching when we're spawning from the other side, because people like me like to push for that pillar and sneak around the other side and start taking shots at the guys who are coming up. But I know better. Because if I'm one of those guys on the far side, that's exactly what I'm waiting for, is to see someone come around there so I can light them up. So while I'm kind of waiting for them to show up, if they show up, we've got this guy down here. I find being in a tier 9 match with this bot that I'm usually happiest to just get some damage on someone. I don't even care about kills, just get some damage so that I can make some money. And in that case, you may have noticed, after I shot him, our guys down on the ground destroyed him, and it was just before he managed to hit me. I don't understand that. I don't understand why people look at railguns as though there's so much of a threat now that they're going to drop everything and shoot at the railgun when you've got 4 vehicles down on the ground blasting the hell out of you. Maybe it's just instinctive reaction, but you can see now coming, these are the guys coming around the corner. We got the SMG hover. He can't cross the gap to get to me. If he tries, he's just going to fall down into the valley, and then it's going to be up to whether or not he's got the thrusters to push himself back up the other side. So in this case, I've got nothing to gain by sticking around letting them shoot at me. That's one of the things that I'm learning with railguns, is they're just so restrictive. My next vehicle is not going to be a sniper. I guarantee you that much. So now they're fixated on me again. There's this guy over here. He's trying to make a mess of things. And I'm not even zooming in on this one. I'm in deep, deep crap with this guy shooting at me, and then there's going to be another guy coming around, and I got plasma fire coming down. I can't stay here, but look at them all. They're all just kind of crowded up there. They could be doing so much more, but first of all, a lot of them just kind of stuck to me, which was really not intelligent. The railgun that you want to be shooting at is the one that looks like he's about to start shooting at you. When he's not able to shoot at you, or he's not really focused on you, usually you want to be finding higher priority targets like plasmas and SMGs, because railguns, they're just not doing it. But in this case, I retained sufficient mobility that I could fly away from those guys. Our guys have started capping on the other side of the map. You saw all the bots up on that ridge, focused on me and shooting down. None of them pushed. None of them pushed forward. They were walkers. They could have gone down. They could have gone back up. There's all the different things that they could have done up there on that ridge that will put them in an advantaged position to either flank us or start capping. They didn't do it. And now they basically have no choice but to destroy us all before we can get 2 more segments in the cap. And it's probably not going to go so well for them. In fact, I'm pretty assured that it doesn't go very well at all. I would have liked to have been able to get myself onto the circle and get some extra RP and tech points for the capture, but I'll settle for just being around my teammates, so I'm less likely to get focused by the idiots who just lost the match for their team. There's one of them now. So good of you to show up. Now this is one that's kind of rare. I don't normally show matches from spectator mode, but this one was just such a standout that I figured it was fairly appropriate. This is one of those things where the first thing that I was thinking is that I didn't want to overextend at the very beginning. I wanted to kind of stay back a little bit. There's only so far back that you can stay, short of just walking a few steps behind your own circle and planting yourself there. That's not very helpful, but in this case, again, it's the tier 8 bot that just barely made it into tier 9 because of a few red blocks that is kind of keeping me from pushing as I might like to. So, you see, it's not a bad position. I managed to get a few shots down on this guy, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I'm feeling pretty good about my position, and then I see the red fire. And I come down, and that's about the end of it. I have all my guns are unloaded. I can only move so fast when I first start out, when I jump off of a structure of some kind. This guy is... Well, he had me dead to rights, but apparently he needed a friend to finish me. But most importantly, look at how many enemy vehicles are near our base right now. We got those guys there, we got the guy shooting the thing, and then we've got... This is a great view from one of our bombers. You can see we've got one guy right beside the circle, we got another guy just up the hill, and then we've got 2 more guys right here. So they've got a minimum of 4 bots that could advance on our circle and put us on our heels. They don't. They decide to be greedy and go after the kills instead. It's not a good idea. It's put yourself in a position to win first and farm after. Because if you lose because you were trying to farm, you're going to get less than if you won by capping. That's just the way it works. Realistically speaking, for us to show up on their circle now and start the capping before they have is kind of an embarrassment for them. That's a really, really bad loss. And I'll just let you finish watching this match because it's very simple. It's the whole message here is push the offense. Don't get stuck sitting in one spot waiting for things to happen, waiting for bad guys to show up. And don't be afraid to push the cap. If you're there, get on the damn circle. I've seen so many people who will literally sit 10 meters from the circle and not get on it because, I don't know, maybe they feel they should be killing and not capping. Cap. Just get on the damn circle. If it looks like you're going to win by kills, you can always get off the circle before you finish. But you're going to regret it if you suddenly realize you should have been on the circle and now it's too late because the enemy's got a lead. That'll do it for this episode. Trying to keep these ones a little bit on the short side, the match footage, because sometimes too much is too much. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments and feedback. Also, if you want to be notified when I add the next video, you can subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on the social media. Links for that in the information section below the video. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.